Hello, I'm Mike from Catan's Rito Magic. Thank you so much for purchasing Cube Card. I hope you have as much fun with it as I do. And there's 5 different mentalism effects you can perform with this single card, and I'll kind of walk you through each one, show you some full performance videos, and see how easy it is to catch on and how this card's designed. Now what you received is a card, looks like random dice on both sides, but I specifically made them in a certain order so you can perform these 5 effects. Okay, so let's look at phase 1. In phase 1, you're going to read your spectator's mind, and they're going to pick a random row, they're going to add the total, and you're going to be able to have them just think about it and tell them what that total is. Okay, so if you look at the side with the 1 on top and the 4 on the bottom, how you're going to start this phase out is by showing them some of the totals in the rows. And if you look at the top row, 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 1, so that row adds up to 10. And then down at the bottom row, 4 and 5 is 9, plus 6 is 15, 19, so you got 10, you got 19, you flip it over. Up here you got 11, 13, 18. Down on the bottom is 1, 4, 6, 7. And so you show them those 4 rows, you add them up in front of them and say, okay, you know, all the rows add up to something different. Hand them the card and say, now I want you to pick either side. And let's pause right there, and I'll show you how this works. If you're looking at the card, all right, you're showing them the top row, the bottom row on both sides, all add up to something different. Now on this side, if you start to add the dice, 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. This one, 4 and 3 is 7, 9, 14. This row, 6, 11, 14. This row, 5, 6, 8, 14. And then on the back side of the card, 5 and 2 is 7, plus 6 is 13, plus 2 is 15. This is 10, 15. This is 9, 13, 15. And then this row, 4, 9, 15. All right, now, so every middle row on here adds up to 14. Every middle row on this side adds up to 15. And the easy way to do that, to know and remember this so you don't have to memorize anything, when you hand them the card, they pick what row. It doesn't even matter which way they have it. All you're looking at is at the 2 corners, okay? So if you see them looking at this side of the card, you see the 1 on top and the 4 on the bottom, that means this side, whatever row they pick, is going to add up to 14. If you see them looking at this side, you see the 1 up top, the 5 on the bottom, whatever they add in the middle is going to add up to 15. So this side is 14, this side is 15. All right, now, how I do this, what I used to do is show them the 4 corners, and then I would hand them the card, and I would say, go ahead, pick either side, and I'd say, I want you to just pick a row somewhere in the middle. All right, and then I knew I was safe. They would pick a middle row, they would add it together. But I found by giving them the corners and adding them with them and showing them how much the top and the bottom row add up on each side, I don't even mention the middle row anymore. And you know, of hundreds, maybe even thousands of times I've done it this way, nobody has ever picked the top or bottom row. So I'll just hand them the card and I'll say, I want you to pick either side, pick a random row, add that total, keep it in your mind, don't tell me. And all I got to do is know which side of the card they're looking at. All right, if you want to be 100% safe and make sure, I mean, feel free to say, you know, pick a side, pick a row in the middle, and then you'll know that it's going to add up to that total. Now, with that being said, I mean, I think like a magician, and I think if somebody showed me the top, showed me the bottom of both sides, handed me a card and said, you know, okay, go ahead, pick a random row in the middle, right away I'm going to be thinking, okay, all the middle rows add up to the same thing. But most people aren't magicians, and nobody's ever said anything about it. But I also perform this for a lot of magicians, and so it may be helpful, and you can do it any way you want. The other thing, the times that this does fail, it's not somebody not picking a middle row, it's somebody not adding correctly. All right, so you know, I see they're on 15. I see they're on the 1-5 side. I read their mind. I tell them they're thinking of the number 15, and they'll say no, 16. And I'm thinking that there's no row on either side of the card that adds up to 16, so they just added wrong. And because I'm not reading what row they chose, I'm reading their mind. It doesn't make sense to go back and say, show me which row and let me show you made a mistake, and I'll just move on. However, to overcome that, and I've done this at times, especially if I'm using younger kids, I'll hand them the card. I'll say, you too, pick a random row, add the rows together, and that way you kind of got two people making sure that they get the correct number. And then however you want to finish the trick, you already know what the answer is. I just kind of look in their eyes, tell them to concentrate on it. I'll just throw it out. And usually this is one where you don't get a yelling, screaming kind of reaction, but more of a stunned silence, like how in the world did he just know that? Okay, so that's phase number one. Let's check out some video for phase number one. All right, we're gonna use a card with all different dominoes on there.
Right.
Who's good at adding?
I'm okay.
You're okay. You're good? All right. I want you to look. All right. The first time I'm going to try and read your mind, okay? And what I want you to do is you can look at the rows add up to something different. This is 5 plus 1 is 6. Plus 3 is 9 plus 1, so that row adds up to 10. This one, 6 and 4 is 10, 15, 19. This is 4, 6, 7. This is 11, 13, 18. So all those rows add up to something different. So you can pick either side. Go ahead and take the cards. And I don't want you to point at anything, but you're just going to pick one row and add up what that row totals to, and don't tell me.
Okay, I picked one.
You got one? Did you add it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
Look me in the eye. So you got a number in your mind. I'm going to try and read your mind. You're thinking 15. Yeah, that's it. Welcome back. I hope you like phase one. Let's move on to phase two. And this is where you're going to read your spectator's body language. And you're going to be able to tell when they're telling the truth and when they're telling a lie. Now, I said that this card, that the numbers were not in a random order, but in specific. And for phase two, you're going to use the side that has the 1 on top and the 4 on the bottom. And it's the same, if the card's reversed, it's just 4 and 1, but you're looking for the 1 and the 4 in the corners. In phase three, we're going to use the 1 and 5 side, but we'll get there. Now, these numbers are set in a specific order that if you can gain just a little bit of information, you can know what number they chose. And this idea came, there's a trick out there that used a stack of cards, and they had the numbers 1 through 64 randomly spread out on all the different cards, and they would think of a number like 12, a number between 1 and 64. You'd hand them the cards, and they'd look on each card. If they saw their number 12, they'd give you the card. If not, they'd set it aside. And once you got all the cards that their number was on, you just added the numbers together in the top corners, and that would tell you what their number was. Okay, and this is the same way. So let me show you before I explain how the routine works. That this card has all the different numbers in a specific order in rows number 1, number 2, and finally down on the bottom row. Okay, so and all you're going to be doing is adding the first dice in each of those rows. Once you know whether or not their number's in there. So let's assume they pick the number 1. You see the number 1 in this row. You don't see it in this row, and you don't see it in the last row. So you're just adding this number, which is 1. Let's say they pick the number 3. They see the number 3 in this row. They see the number 3 in this row. So it's yes, yes. And then down in the bottom row, it's not there. So you're just adding 2 plus 1, and you know their number's 3. If it was 5, yeah, you see it in the first row, not the second row. And it is down in the last row. So you're adding the 1 and the 4 together. That gives you 5. All right. Now, the simplest way you can do this is just ask them, hey, I just want to see your body language when you tell the truth. And here's how you're going to get them to do. This is how I get them to choose a random number. I'll just have them roll a single die. So I'll just, pretend, here's one dice or one die. Go ahead, take a hold of it, give it a roll, look at the number on top, and remember that number. Now, I'm going to try and read your body language. So I want you to tell me the truth. I want to see what your body language is like when you're telling the truth. Look at that top row. Do you see your number? And they'll give you a yes or a no. If you want to keep it simple, you move on to row 2 and then move on to row 6. All right. Now sometimes that gets a little fishy, that that they can kind of look that somehow you have the card memorized or there's something fishy about that. So I use it where I'm really looking at their body language and I want one truth and one lie. All right, so I'll say, do you see your number in this first row? And let's assume they pick the number 3. Do you see it? They say yes. I say, okay, so that's how your body reacts when you're telling the truth. I also want to see what it's like when you lie, and I'll make a joke. You look like a person who never lies, so this might be hard. But I want you to tell me, do you see your number in the second row? Now they do. Since they're lying, they're going to say no. And now here's the cool part about all this. Sometimes you can stop at that point, because if they pick the number 3, number 3 is... They're basically going to be in this row, and it's going to be in this row. It definitely can't be in the last row, because you can't add all 3 together, because that would be 1, 3, 7, and there is no 7. Also, the number 4 works the same way. If it's not in this row, it's not in this row. It has to be in that last row. And if you're using the truth and lie thing like I do with the body language, you're looking for opposite answers. So if they say yes, no, or no, yes, you're done. Their number, you're going to know, is either that 3 or it's that 4. If they do the same ones, if they say yes, yes, or if they say no, no, then you know you have to go to the last row. Okay? And just kind of looking how that works. Let's say they pick the number 6. All right, the first one they're going to say, do you see it? No. Now they're going to lie to me. Do you see it in the second row? They're going to say no again. So no, no. So I know they have to go to the last row, because at this point, I'm not sure if their number's 2 or if their number's 6. So I go into that last one, and what I'll do is I'll just pick up, and usually I'll do the truth, because that's the simplest for me. I'll be like, okay, you're really good at this. I couldn't really tell the difference. Give me one more truth just to be sure. Do you see your number in this last row? And then, if their number was 6, they're going to say yes. So I know it's in the second row. I know it's in the last row. I add those 2 together, and I know it's 6, and now it's just all presentation. So what I'll do is I'll just say, hey, I want you to, I'm going to name each number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Whether it's your number or not, I want you to say yes, because I think based on your body language and what you just showed me, I can tell when you lie and when you tell the truth. So I'll look them right in the eye, and I'll say, is your number 1? Is there number 2? And they keep saying yes, yes, yes. And at the end, I can reveal, you told me 5 lies and only 1 truth. And the one time you told the truth was when your number was, and that usually gets a big reaction. So let's check out some video on phase 2. All right. So that's reading your mind. Now I'm going to read your body language. Okay. So I want you to imagine you take a dice and give it a roll. So go ahead and give a dice a roll, and then go ahead and look at what number's facing on top, but don't tell anybody. Okay, so you got a new number in your mind between 1 and 6, right? All right, so I'm going to give you this card, and I want you to tell me the truth, because I'm trying to look at when you tell the truth, what your body language is like, and when you lie, what your body language is like. All right, so just look at the first row. The first time I'm looking at your eyes, I want you to tell me the truth. Do you see your number in this very first row?
Yes.
Okay, now the second thing I'm going to do is I want to see what your body language is like when you lie. Okay, so I'm going to show you the second row, and I want you to lie to me. And sometimes if you're not good at lying, it's a little bit harder, but lie to me whether or not you see your number in that.
Yes.
Okay. So you were hard to pick up, because you did about the same thing with both of those.
Good.
Let's just do the last row. Give me the truth one more time.
Yes.
You do see it?
Yes.
You're really making this difficult. All right. So I'm going to try and read your body language anyway to see if I can pick up a difference in one of the numbers I say. So just keep thinking of your number. Don't do anything special as I go through these. Just tell me yes to every single number, whether it's yours or not. So was your number 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
6?
Yes.
You gave me 5 lies and 1 truth, and the only one I think you told me the truth on, your number you're thinking of is 5?
Yes.
Welcome back. I hope you like phases 1 and 2. And one of the things about cube cards, there's 5 phases to this. You do all 5, you're going to get at least 10 minutes, maybe more. And some of these phases, you may say, that doesn't really work for me, or my personality, or the way I perform. It's okay to throw a phase or 2 out the window and still say, hey, I got 3 great effects I can do with this. Now in phase 3, as I mentioned before, we're going to use the side with the 1 and the 5. And this is where you're going to make a prediction ahead of time. Okay, and the way I like to do it is I like to text them, and they'll watch. I'll let them watch me type. You will pick the number, and then I turn away, and it's always going to be the number 4. So I would put the 4, and then I'd hit send. They hear their phone go off. I put it away. And now in this phase, I love to text my prediction. Now you can either whisper it to somebody, a spectator, and have them turn around and play a part in this. You can write it down if you want, but I love to text, and here's why. I may do a strolling event and pull out cube card and do this 25 times, and I've texted 25 people. So I go home and I have all these 25 people that I texted at the event, and I can just send a real quick follow-up. Hey, thank you so much for participating in the magic today. If you ever need a magician for your event, here's my website. And I may get 2 or 3 follow-up calls, or people checking out my website. And so this little card can actually get you more gigs. Now how this phase works is using that 1-5 side, and you're going to turn it sideways. Okay, now a lot of you I'm sure have heard of the hot rod force, where there's 6 different gems, and you pick a number between 1 and 6, and based on what number they say, you're either going to count to that gem or you're going to spell to that gem. Now we all know, if you've done that trick before, if somebody picks the number 3 or the number 4 and we can just count to that, that is the ideal situation. All right, so I kind of set this up where 99% of the time I hit the ideal situation. All right, so what I'll do is they'll use the imaginary dice again. They take it in their hand, they'll roll it, and I'll say, what number did you roll? All right, and I'm hoping that they say 3 or 4. And if you look at this side, it's kind of set up perfectly for that force. So you see in this row, a 4 is 3 over from this side. In this row, 3 over from this side. Here, 3 over from that side. Down here, 3 over from that side. So you can use any of these rows. All right, so the ideal situation, they roll. They say, I rolled a 3. And you say, okay, pick any row. So let's say they pick this one. And you say, all right, let's count to the 3rd dice over. 1, 2, 3. There you are. You landed on the number 4. Look at my prediction. Or they say, I rolled the number 4. And they want to use this first row. You just count from the other side. All right, we're going to use the 4th dice over. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. And you're done. All right. Now, every once in a while, somebody may say a 1, somebody may say 2, somebody may say 5, may say 6. Now, I'm actually going to give it 3 chances for this to succeed. All right. So I'm holding the card. I just kind of hold it sideways. I know I want the number 5 showing. So they roll the dice, and they say, all right, I rolled the number 1. I'll say, great, let's use the first side. And so that's round 1. They may roll it again, and let's say they say the number 2. I say, all right, here's side 1, let's use side 2. All right, so now I get another chance for them to say either 3 or 4. All right, so if they if they roll a 5, I know the odd side, I want it to be first. So all right, we'll use the 5th side. There's side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, side 5. Let's use this one. All right, the next time they roll, if they do a 3 or a 4, I let them pick any row they want. We just count over and the trick ends. All right, but now we've got the side, they roll again. Let's say this time they roll 1, so it's still not the ideal number. I'll say, okay, great, we're going to use row number 1. Or they roll a 5. I said, okay, let's use the 5th row. There's row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll even say to them, do you want to, is that row okay, or do you want to change your mind? Because it really doesn't matter what row it is. All right, so now we finally got a 3rd and final time. And again, allowing them to roll the dice 3 different times, 99% of the time, one of those 3, they'll either say a 3 or a 4. If it doesn't, you can still just do the regular force. So let's say they've not said 3 or 4, and you end up on this row, and on their last roll they say 2. And then I'll say, all right, we're going to spell the word 2, T-W-O, and you're still going to get to the number 4. Or if they say 5, we're going to spell from this side, F-I-V-E, and you're still on the number 4. And so again, I'll just show you in case you're not familiar with the hot rod force. Again, you're looking for the 3 to either count 1, 2, 3, or the 4 to count 1, 2, 3, 4. But if they pick the number 1, it's O-N-E. The number 2 is T-W-O. Again, 3 you're counting 1, 2, 3. 4 you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 you're spelling F-I-V-E, and 6 you're spelling S-I-X. And even when you have to spell, people are still kind of blown away. Hey everyone, I was just performing Cube Card the other day, and something popped up for phase number 3 that I thought I would really like to share that makes it just a little bit easier. And that's if the very first time they roll the dice, if they say their number is either 1 or 6, as somebody said the number 6, and I glanced down at the card, I was going to use the 6 side, but then I looked, and the side with the 1 and a 4 on it, the 4s are kind of in the first spot or the 6th spot. So they said 6. I kind of turned it around so it was the 6 dice over. And then I used kind of like a motion force where, I said, okay, now we're going to choose a row. And I just said, tell me when to stop. And the 4s are in the corner, so they can actually start either stop on the top or on the bottom. So I'm just moving my finger back and forth. And when they say stop, if I'm moving down, I'll stop on the bottom row. If I'm moving up, I'll stop on the top row. So it would look like this. I would say, okay, now we're just going to choose a row. Tell me when you want me to stop. They say stop. Okay, right here, we'll use this row. You rolled the number 6, so we'll use the 6 dice over. All right, same thing. If it's on the way down, tell me when to stop. Stop, and 6 dice over. Again, you don't want to go real slow, and you don't want to go real fast either. Just a nice, even pace. Tell me when to stop. Stop. Okay, good. We'll stop on this row, 6 dice over. All right, if they pick the number 1, you're just going to have the card this way. And again, tell me when to stop. Stop. Okay, you rolled a number 1, so we're going to use the very first dice, and you got your force, the number 4. Okay, so I hope that helps. And again, so that kind of makes it the only number you're hoping they don't roll on the first one is a number 2. And if they do, you're just going to use the second side and then go through it just like we explained before. So, all right, hope you enjoy it. Let me show you a little bit of video.
I know when it's faking.
All right, so I'll pull this up. And so this one's a future prediction. I can't change my mind. Carly, you hold on to that. All right. So Al, we got this card, again, all the different numbers. You're going to take the dice, give it a roll, and what we're going to use that to find a random dice. So what number did you just roll?
2.
2. So we're going to use side 2, side 1, side 2. All right, go ahead, pick up the dice. Roll it again. Look at your number. What number do you got?
3.
3? Okay. Now I'm going to let you pick any of these rows on that side, so it's completely a free choice. So go ahead and pick a row. We're using the long rows this time. So you want 1, 2, 3, or 4 row. Which row do you want to use?
3.
So you want to use this row? And then the number you picked was 3. So we're going to use the third dice over. So 1, 2, 3. Now you could have rolled any numbers. You could have picked any row you wanted, but we landed on dice number 4. So Carly, I gave you a prediction. Go ahead, pull that out. Say it nice and loud.
4.
Let's see. I'm going to make a prediction ahead of time. This guy right here, I'm just going to whisper a number to you, okay? And then have you turn around.
This dude is psychic.
Okay, so you turn around. So he's not going to look. And so he's got a number that I predicted. All right, I want you to take a dice. Just go ahead and roll it. And look at it and just tell me what number is on there.
It's 2.
Number 2? All right, so we're going to use side number 2. So side 1, side 2. Now you're going to roll another dice. Take a look at it. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6?
Oh my God.
4? Okay, so I'm going to let you pick any row on this side. Which row do you want to use? We're using the long rows. This one? All right, and your number was 4 that you rolled, so we're going to get the 4th dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll show the camera too. That's the one that you landed on. You could have landed anywhere. Now he hasn't been looking. I whispered something ahead of time to him. Okay? No way he would know. All right, so I'm going to put this back in my pocket. What's his name?
Johnny.
Yeah. All right, so Johnny, turn around real loud. Tell him what number he...
4.
Hello, welcome back. Phases 4 and 5 are kind of bonus phases, and they didn't come along until a little bit later, and they kind of came out of the request over and over again. People, as I would show Cube Card, the first 3 phases, kind of a finale ending with a prediction coming to their phone, and a lot of times people would ask me, show me how you do that. And I'd heard that so many times, I thought, what it'd be kind of cool if I could teach somebody how to do something and not really show them how I do one of the first 3 phases. So I created these last two phases of a way to kind of train somebody, and I didn't want to have to pull them into another room or give them some kind of big teaching thing. So I actually came up with a way to teach them how to do this right in front of everybody else, and only that person seems to know. All right, so here's what happens. Somebody says, hey, can you teach me how to do that? Or kind of if they're still stunned by that last phase, I may say, hey, anybody want to learn how to do this? And so I'm going to pick out one person, or I'll say who can keep a secret, and find out who that person is or whatever. And I'm going to take that, so they're all gathered. I'll get everybody together so they can take the card and look at it on one side, and I'll take whoever's going to help, and I'll turn their back, and I'll put their back. I'll turn my back to the spectators and put this person I'm going to train kind of opposite side. All right. Now the first one, he's going to be able to basically look at this card and know what number they picked. And basically how he's going to, or she is going to know that is how many fingers, when I hand them the card, I have touching the card. All right. So if the spectators pick the number 1, I'm going to hand the card like this. And they're just looking at how many fingers is touching. So that would be a 1. If I hand it like this, it's 2. If I hand it like this, it's 3. If I hand it like this, it's 4. If I hand it like this, it's 5. And if I hand it like this, it's 6. Okay, so simple enough. But here's how I train somebody right in front. So my back is to all the other spectators. This person, I'm going to say, I'm going to hand you this card, and you're going to know what number they chose. And they can't see me, so I come right up here and I start to point at this finger. I'll say, you'll be able to tell me if their number's 1, if their number's 2, if their number's 3, if their number's 4, if their number's 5, or if their number's 6. And I'm just kind of watching, hoping that they're watching my fingers. And then I'll say it one more time. So I'll hand you the card. You'll know if they're, and this time I won't point, just to make sure I get it. I'll say, you'll know if their number's 1, if their number's 2, if their number's 3, if their number's 4, if their number's 5, or if there's number's 6. And again, the spectator, their views are blocked. So this is what it would look like to them. I go up to the person. You're going to be able to tell me if their number's 1, their number's 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or number 6. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. You got that? And I just kind of look for the nod, whether or not they get it. And some of the most fun I've had with this and these final 2 phases is when the person messes up. And they didn't really get it. I thought they did. They say the wrong number, and we go back and we retrain, and it almost becomes like everybody gets on their side. Hey, is this guy going to get it, or is this girl going to get it? It kind of builds up, and when they finally do, everybody just kind of goes crazy, and we'll repeat it one more time, and then they go crazy again. That they really understand how to do this trick now. Now, with that said, sometimes I'll be explaining to this, and I'm trying to get them to look here, and they're looking in my eyes. And a lot of times, I'll just make the comment where they can hear, but they can't. I'll just say, count the fingers on the front of the card. And then that'll kind of get their eyes down there. And, one of the video clips, I don't have a whole lot of video clips of this because I videotape with my phone, and I'm always texting the prediction to the person, so I need my phone to do this. And a couple times, as you saw in the video, I didn't use texting then because I was using my phone to videotape. But the person that you're going to see in the video, when I was videotaping, he's kind of looking in my eyes, so I kind of had to just whisper to him, and you're not going to hear it, and the spectators didn't hear it, but it was just count the number of fingers on the front of the card. And he kind of gave me the nod, and I wasn't even sure if he really understood, but he did. And so when they get that, again, if you're the spectator, I'm coming up. All right, you're going to be able to tell me if their number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So they'll pick a number. You'll know if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Do you get it? And probably 70% people see that, they get it, they pick it up. A lot of times if they don't, and I've asked people afterwards, they're thinking I'm pointing at certain numbers. Like if their number's 1, I'm pointing here. If their number's 3, and so they're trying to pick up on that. And again, if they have that confused look at, just that little whisper, count the number of fingers on the front of the card. And like I said, it kind of gets the spectator involved, and kind of makes them a hero, and people really love this phase. So here's some video of what that looks like. I'm going to teach him something, and you guys are going to be able to pick a domino, and he's going to be able to tell you what your number is, okay? So, Lane, here's what you're going to do. You're going to say, you stay there, you're going to pick one of these dominoes, and you're going to be able to tell whether the number's 1, the number's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 when I hand you the card. All right, so I'll hand it to you, and you'll know if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Okay? So what I want you guys to do, just point to any one of those dominoes. This is one you want? Okay. So Lane, I'm going to hand you the card. Go ahead and take the card. Look at it and tell me what the domino is. There's two different methods you could use. The first one uses the eyes. And so I'm going up to my spectator, and I'll kind of get close in here, and I would say the same thing. They're going to pick a row. You're going to be able to tell when it's even, and when it's even, I'm giving them eye contact. So I'm looking right at them, or odd, and I look down at the card. So this is even, odd, and kind of raise the eyebrows so they know they're looking at your eyes. Even, odd, even, odd. So for example, they may pick a row, and you would say odd, odd, even, even, odd, even, odd. And they pick up on that. I come back, spectators can pick a row, and we just kind of go dice by dice, and I'll usually say, okay, number 1, and I'm either looking at them for even, eyes. If you need to whisper to your spectator, if they're having trouble catching on, I would just say eyes on you stands for even, eyes even. And, off of you is odd. So that's one way to do it, and that's been working great. And another way, and this came about, I was doing a show where there was a girl that was pretty much blind. She wasn't 100% blind, but had a really hard time seeing, and wanted to know, is there any way she could do a magic trick or anything I could teach her to show people without being able to see well. And I thought about it, and I pulled out Cube Card, and what I thought, the word okay and the word odd both start with O. So what I told her was, basically the premise, you're going to be able to tell if the number's odd or even. And if you hear me say the word okay, that means that dice is going to be odd. If I don't say okay, if I say any other word, it's going to be even. All right, so I would let the spectators choose a row, and here's kind of what it would sound like. Remember, if it's an odd dice, I'm going to say okay. If it's an even dice, I'm going to say something different. So this row, it starts out odd. So here's what it sounds like. I would say, I think her name was Mary. So, Mary, let's go through these dice, okay? Odd. Next one, okay. Next one, okay. Last one's odd too, so another okay. So looking at a different row. Mary, let's try this again, okay? Good. Okay. Okay. Doing great. Last one. So only she's just trying to tune in to hear me say the word okay. Anytime she heard okay, she would follow up with odd. And people just love that. They love seeing her be able to perform and her kind of light up. So that's two different ways you can do this, and both are very deceptive. One more thing we're going to do. We can be able to tell each row whether it's odd or whether it's even. So ladies, stay right here. All right. So we're going to go. We'll go dice by dice. Not dominoes, but it's a dice. And we'll go dice by dice. And what's going to happen? Each number, you're going to tell me whether the number is odd or even. And here's what it's going to be. So even, odd, even, odd. So one row might be odd, odd, even, odd, even. Okay? So go ahead. You pick any of these rows. This row right here. Okay, Lane, first number, is it odd or even? Even, odd. Okay, first one. Odd. Second one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Awesome. Thank you again for your purchase of the Cube Card, and I hope you have as much fun with it as I have. And one other thing I just wanted to mention, if you enjoy the method and what's behind this, please check out one of my other releases. It's called Mind Card, where it could be done completely in your bathing suit. You train an assistant to know any card that somebody's just thinking of. And it's a lot of fun to do, and just do a search for it on the internet and you can find it there. Thanks again, and have a great time with this.